Hey everybody, your host Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Studios, on with a new series with the landscape. So the first thing we're going to do for this series is set up the runtime virtual texture. When I released the final product for the last series, RVT was indeed there, and it is there. But it was too complex and to the point to where I couldn't remember what I did, and that's why notes are important. So commenting is definitely important if you're not going to be touching it for a long time. That's a habit I've yet to start, and I really should. And so I went ahead and redid RVT because it wasn't working with static meshes how I would like. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick episode with RVT, and then the next episode is when we will start the deformation. I shouldn't say deformation. The transitional changes of landscape materials or materials in general, because it can be used in any way with any materials. So we'll get started with that in the next episode. So let's go ahead and get RVT set up. So for everyone else, anyone who has the project downloaded, right here you should see like an RVT cache and something up here for RVT, for runtime virtual textures. Delete it, just completely get rid of it, and then come to the RVT folder. Keep the RVT height and RVT material, delete everything else. This is the new setup. I'm going to be doing it with you, as I said. But I just want to make sure that all you have in your folder is this stuff. For those that don't know how to get these, just runtime virtual texture right there. I right-clicked and then just started typing, and it brought it up for me. For me, I do 4096. It's not necessary. You could do 1024 if you wanted to. And then 256.4. This one's height, so world height. Oh, yeah, because something else got changed. And then for the material, I did the same setup, except for this. I did the Y, cock, G, base color, normal, roughness, specular, mask. Because for those that want, caves and whatnot, you kind of need the mask part. So that's what I do. And then, again, this is for those who are just wanting to know how to do RVT. If we click on the landscape, let me go back all the way to the top so that it's more realistic. And if I just type in virtual, I have right here. So you want to hit plus, but the height and the material, doesn't matter which order they're in. If you have not created the runtime virtual texture volumes, you can right here. If you click this, it will automatically make these for you and even set them up with the material that should be in there. However, you will want to click on them, name the one that's supposed to be height, and the one that's supposed to be material, and make sure that everything is indeed set up and kosher, because sometimes things mess up. And that, we then get to the material. So this isn't what it's going to look like when we're done. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to want to do, because we want to make sure that we have this set up correctly, is you can either do break material attributes, which I find clunky and annoying, or my preferred method, get material attributes, because then you can keep it small and to how you had it. And then you do right click and do runtime virtual texture output. I do this so that it's easier for me to know which ones I need. You got base color into base color, specular into specular, roughness into roughness, normal into normal, And then, because I have landscape visibility mask, it goes into opacity mask. So we want this opacity mask into mask. Now, we will need world height. The easiest way to get it is to right click, world position, and that gives you the absolute world position. Oh, it's because I have two of them. You're only allowed to have one. Okay, good to know. I won't save. And then you're going to want a component mask and put it on the B, which is the Z axis, so up and down. And there's your height. There's the world height. And then from there, you know, you could easily, I believe I did it here, yep. For opacity, just hold down the 1 key, make this a 1. Not sure if it's necessary, it's just how I have it set up and it works quite lovely. The next thing you need to do, and this is important, very important, is you need to change this with the, what's it called? Not vertex, I believe it's transform? Yeah. You need to change this from tangent space, which is the space of this landscape, to world space. Sorry, I'm getting over an earache and ear infection and whatnot, so, you know, a lot of drainage. Anyways, and then later when we put it on, say, back onto the landscape, or we put it onto a static mesh, we'll change it from world space to tangent space. Put that there into the normal. And that's pretty much all you need right there. Now, because I can only have one and I have it done, I'm going to come over here, bring it over, so I can get rid of that annoying, pesky doohickey that I had. And we're going to save. Now, the next thing we're going to do, something that's important for me to note, this node right here absolutely has to be on the topmost landscape portion. What I mean by that is you can't put this into a material function. It won't work. It will try to utilize the materials found in the material function, which there are none because it's pulling from this. So this part right here has to be out there. I've seen some people put this into a function just to clean it up. Honestly, that's a waste of time in my opinion. Especially because, you know, you only have it on one landscape material. Anyways, now the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to pull out of this all of the information that we need for to change this landscape to a virtual material, so that it goes from being bright, I believe at this point, because I've reduced a bunch of it. Let's check right here. Right here. Right now it is probably a red. Yeah. Change it from red to a dark green. So, you know, the more complex you get, obviously, you can see right there, it's a bright red. Probably because that's where I painted something. But anyways, we want to get this and place it in here so that the landscape can utilize it. But we also want it made so that it can be plugged into the static meshes that we place in our world. So for that, we're just going to create a material function. And the first function we're going to create is the material function RVT Material. So I'm going to right click, material function, and I'm just going to name mine RVT Material Example for this tutorial, and then I will delete it later. We're going to open it up. Now, the first thing we're going to want is a runtime virtual texture sample. If you wanted to do a parameter, you could. I find them pointless, as, like I said, usually you're only going to have the ones. But if you plan on having a bunch of them, I guess you could set it up that way, and it would be rather smart to set it up as a parameter. I just never have. But you know what? Let's go ahead and do it and see how it looks. RVT, and this one is going to be the RVT material. So I'm just going to remove the RVT. There's no reason to have it twice. Material texture. So then we're going to come down here, and right here we'll put the RVT material. Sorry, I've got something clicking on my computer, and it's bothering my ears. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be making a material attribute. So you can, again, do make material attribute, which is the long, clanky version of set material attribute. This allows me to, again, pick the ones I want. So from base color into base color, specular into specular. This one can go directly into there. Roughness into roughness. And then mask into into opacity mask. Just like that. So with that being said, we can plug this in here like this. Now we need to do the base, normal, and the world height. Oh no, we don't have to do the world height here. World height gets ignored. Silly me. So here in the base color, we're going to utilize a material function that we've made in the past, because when you do change it to, when you change the landscape, there sometimes, depending on the complexity of the size, yada yada yada, the colors, all that, reds can look a little more red. So if you have a brown dirt that has a tint of red, it's going to look more red, and you're going to want to readjust the colors. So mf underscore color controls. Put that in here. Put that in here. Gonna do this. And that should be enough space. And then hold down V. RVT color resample. Make those all one. And then hold down V again. And RVT we'll name this one color controls. Again, we're going to want these to 1. But we're also going to come down here and we're going to name these. This will be tint influence, saturation, brightness, and control. Tint influence into tint influence, saturation into saturation, brightness into brightness, contrast into contrast. And now you have the color all set up. I hate those, so if you highlight, if you want a straight line, just highlight, click on Q, and it'll line up these together. Next is the, what am I thinking? The normal stuff. So remember, we're now changing this back from world space to tangent space. So you would think, and you would be right, that you could do it this way, to just have the node that does that. I like to add a little more of complexity to it. Helps make it look better and helps ensure that it is good. So I will come up here, right click, and do vertex normal world space. Then I'm going to come on over here and do another transform. And we're going to transform this from world space to tangent space. Come over here and do a blend angle corrected normals. So this goes into normal. Again, gonna straighten those. Whoops. Then, oh, yeah. Notice something that I did that would make this all kind of redundant. I'm just going to do this, just like this, because they both are going to get transformed from world to tangent. So it wouldn't make sense to have it here and here. Silly me. Oh, and I didn't change this to normal. So we need to change the bottom roughness to normal. And we're going to place that in here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the RVT material that we need. Just cleaning this up a bit. Setting this up quite nicely, in my opinion. I don't like... There we go. We got that all cleaned up. And like I said, this is our function. So I'm going to save it. Now, if we come in here and we put this RVT material within here, we could actually just do this. And if we hit save and apply, it's going to apply the material for us. That's new. Maybe that's why I had that there. Let's find out. It's first thing in the morning, so that very well may be why I did this. Copy, paste. Place that here, place that here. Hit save. Oh, look at that, it's gotten brighter. There we go. That was the problem. Okay. I forgot that that's why I did that. Makes sense in a techie kind of way. I'm letting these all load up. There we go. So there it is. As you can see, this is slightly red in comparison to what it was. So you need to either need to adjust the color that's down here or the color as a whole. And this provides you with that ability to choose which way you're going to go. So that is how that gets set up. But what if you don't want RVT? Well, we'll go over that in a second because I want to show shader complexity. Look at that. Went from all the way over here to all the way back here. And this, the same, it'll still be like that even if it's all the way over here. When you put on RVT, it's going to come all the way over here. Which, I mean, you can't really complain, can you? Now, you don't have to have RVT on the landscape in order for RVT to work on static meshes. It's important to know that. So now let's go ahead and set this up to work no matter what it's plugged into. So we're going to create another material function. This one is mf underscore RVT Setup, and I'm going to name mine Example. Open this up. Now we're going to come here, put in our example, and then we're going to right click and type switch, static switch parameter, and name it, not RC, RVT, use RVT material, question mark. True, it'll use that. False, get an input. No, we don't want it to be a vector 3, so we're going to come over here and we're going to change this to a material attribute and leave it just like that, because this is the whole function right here. We hit save, come in back into here, and we pull out this. Nope, sorry. The RVT setup. Bring that in, put that in here like this, and like this. That can now be deleted. And we hit save. Here we go. And if we don't have it clicked, let's come over here. Let's open this up, because we want to verify that it works. That shouldn't be connected that way. That's fine. Let's see if this works. Check mark. And RVT is now set up. Check mark again. And it is turned off. Now you may be wondering, you may not be able to see the slight reddish color change, so we'll come here to shader complexity. Turn RVT material on. And turn it off. There we go. And that shows that RVT is working. Now then, for static meshes, we're only going to create the setup today. We're not going to put it onto any static meshes until we get to that point. But we're in RVT, we might as well get it set up and working. So, the next thing we need then is we're going to right click. I always lose materials. There we go. Material function and MF underscore. This one is the RVT Mesh Blend, and I'll name mine Example. Open this bad boy up. Excuse me. Now this is where we determine how it affects the mesh via it being the material of the landscape, how it affects based off of the height of the material, of the mesh, sorry. So the first thing we're going to want, open this up, zoom in an extra bit, something I need to work on. Somebody's commented that it needs to be a little clearer. Anyways, first thing we're going to want is sorry, you can't do absolute, and it bothers the crap out of me. World position, and it'll give you that. Next thing we're going to do is get the component mask, and again, we're going to single out the blue channel for the z-axis. And we're going to put that into a subtract. From there, we're going to again get a runtime virtual texture sample, and I'm just going to go ahead and name it to keep it like this. That way, you know, you can change it as needed. Anyways, we will then name this RVT height texture. Get the world height, place it in there. Make sure we choose the height. Now, it is important to note that because it is being set up here in the mesh blend that if you changed this texture height for one static mesh, it's going to change it for the other one. In order for it to not do that, you would need to come over here, do an input, name it whatever you want. So like RVT height texture, put it in there, and then place this directly into the mesh. And we'll go over that more in detail when the time comes, for those that really need it. And then we're going to go into an add. Now, this next part that we need is so that we know the object size and where it's at. Otherwise, we won't be able to determine how high up the mesh it goes, which means it would just overtake the whole thing. So for that, we need the object bounds. Again, we need the component mask for B, so I'm just going to copy and paste it. We're going to add that here. And then to control it, we'll get a subtract. And into here, we'll get a multiply. Place that right there. And then come in, oh no, hold down S and click. And then RVT I blend. And we'll place a 1 right here. Now for those that don't like how this works, we'll adjust it, but right now 1 is fairly high, 2 is extremely high on the static meshes, so you have to go into like 1.05, but I'm going to keep it at 1, and you'll see what I mean once we get to that point. So then we go into a divide, hold down S, get the RVT, make this the blend smoothness, put this at 100. That's just what it's going to start out as. And again, remember, this is setting it up for every single static mesh that uses it. So the blend smoothness will be the same worldwide. To have it set per an instance, we would have to do a little more, and we'll show that off when we get to that point. Now at this point, we're going to want a saturate node. Make sure everything stays between 0 and 1. And then we're going to get a power node. And for this, we're going to then hold down S again, RVT. And this is the blend contrast. So it sharpens the blend, the end of the blend. Now then from here, we're going to want a 1 minus node. Place it into a multiply. This right here is set. I'm going to comment and name it place material on mesh. Now this next part will remove it from the edges so you don't have stretching on the edges. So for that, we need the vertex normal world space. Again, we need another mask. And then get an absolute. Cleans it up a bit. Do a multiply. I always do that. Hold down S. RVT normal sharpness. I'm going to set this to 1.5 for now. And then get a saturate. Get a power node. Done S. RVT normal contrast. And I'm going to set this to 5. Sharpen up the, removing more from the edges, keeping it more in line with the tops. And this, I'm going to comment and name remove material from edge. Place that in here. Now we don't just place it into there, because right now it's worthless. It's a mask. So we'll saturate just to keep it safe, because it's free, so why not? And the next thing we're going to do is get a blend material attribute. We're going to place that in here. And into B, we're going to grab the RVT material. For me, it's RVT material example, but still, it's the same nonetheless. Place that in here. And then we will, no, not output, input. Just leave this as is. But if you really wanted to, because I did, static mesh material. That goes into there. Now, because you might not want to have it on every single one of them, or you might want to only use this instead of the whole blend on top of it, because you want to just make the landscape look a little more real. We want to do have a couple of functions, that way it can be turned on and off at will. So we're going to come right here, do a static switch parameter RVT use RVT material only question mark. So for false, it'll go right here. For true, it's just going to go right here. Click on this. Just like that. Now we need another one of these. And we're going to name it RVT enable RVT blending question mark. True, like this. False, up here like that. Now we place it like that. And it's set up. Now when it comes time, we will plug this into static meshes once we get to that section of doing landscape material type design, because you know static meshes are indeed part of the landscape when it comes to designing your world. So that is everything RVT that we are doing and setting up. The next episode will be setting up material parameters, separate little actors or assets, not actors, that I will show you how to utilize. And we will start making the grass turn brown over time, you know, from height, specific area, and even noise. So we'll start with changing colors and then go on down the road from there. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to make requests, please make sure you leave them in the comments below or join my Discord, and we will make sure we get that set up. Thanks again for watching.